segment representing trade union. I begin with Dr. Benjamin Akintola. Come to the high table. Dr. Mutaka Yushao, who is so lucky to be in Ilorin at a time like this. Mr. Tunde Joseph. And then Mr. Oweye. Mr. Oweye representing NLC. Mr. Oweye representing NLC. Tunde Joseph is here. Yes. Yes. Sit down, definitely. Tunde. So not so that you can help. That's Mr. Oweye now. Can someone help the crowd with, in case they don't have a copy? So let me give you this one. Yeah, if they need it. Yes. In case they need it, okay? So we are taking it around. So we want to get the comments from the unions. So what this panelists will do is that we give them, like I said, a letter and an advisory. We've asked them to speak on 4 areas. One is on the on the procedures that have brought us to this place, how they have been consultative and involving. That's one. We've asked them to speak about capabilities, competencies. Okay. We also asked them to look at the context, some of these areas that are captured in the strategic plan. And then the last area they would speak on from the perspective of the sectors they represent is the operational plans. Okay, so like I said, everyone doesn't have to speak during this round. If you think that your views are already captured, you can just say, I concur, and the rest of it. So, but we will need your submission specifically as an organization, okay? You can give us now or email it. Okay, so Mr. Mustaka, Dr. Mutaka, you want to start? Fine. So this round would not take. Yes. So I didn't forget this to Comrade Ayegba, should be here. It's also part of our clientele. So no, Matson is in civil society. So is quite balanced. Okay. So fine. Okay. Rapporteur, I hope you are capturing now because you need your work here. So I encourage the presenters to be brief. Okay. No more than 10 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Edwin, and the chairman of this session. Distinguished participants, I remain Comrade Mutaka Yushao, and representing the Nigerian Labour Congress. And we were given a simple assignment by the convener of this workshop to look at the strategic implementation plan of Michael Imodu National Labour Institute for the year 2022 to 2025 and respond to 4 thematic areas: the activities and consultation, analysis of context, both national and international, in relation to the mission and vision of the Institute, capabilities, opportunities, and constraints, strategic direction, and operational plan. By way of introduction, we have read the strategic plan, and is quite comprehensive. And the areas, it reflects the vision and the mission of the institute to be a leading institute of labor studies, not only in Nigeria and in Africa. And these thematic areas we were asked to respond. Our response is purely touching on areas we think that all the 4 thematic areas could be improved. I started with the fact that if you fail to plan, you obviously plan to fail. So on the first thematic area, which is activities and consultation, as a trade union center, we felt that for the strategic plan to be effective, 3 issues need to be taken into cognizance. One is the mapping of the challenges facing trade unions. And how can you map those challenges facing trade union organization? You have to leverage on the resolutions as I have mentioned in the opening session, ongoing campaigns that each of the unions affiliated to the labor center space, private sector unions, public sector unions, informal sector unions. So what are the challenges facing them? That will be the basis of, in that process of consultation, you'll be able to integrate it in the strategic plan. Secondly is the knowledge gap assessment of trade union members. So you have to understand their knowledge gap, and this will enable the institute to identify areas for partnership and even helping in the module development for this category of workers. The third is the issue of policy research. Policy research will guide trade unions' engagement on policy and industrial relation issues. And those policy research will come up in different forms in terms of position paper, working paper that could address those needs as highlighted in the mapping and need assessment. On the second question on the local and international context, for trade unions, the local and international context, we tend to respond in 3 ways. One, globalization, deindustrialization, and decline of trade union membership. For private sector unions, you believe with me that the collapse of industries, be it textile and manufacturing sector, is a concern. This is the context, this is the reality we are living. And that translates into what? Loss of membership of trade union organizations. For the public sector unions, there are issues. The context we are living is the issue around public sector reforms and challenges it poses for decent work. For example, from 2000 to date, since the return to the civilian administration, privatization, outsourcing, and retrenchment has affected and decimated the bond and the strength of trade unions and their members. Many have lost their jobs. Then the second dimension of the public sector reforms is the issue of containing wage bills. These are the realities that you depress wages as a result of many factors. One factor could be because you collect debt from IMF and World Bank and all other international financial institutions. What will be the repercussion of that? It will affect wages, part of the policy recommendations or prior actions. As the World Bank used to use it, you have to reduce your wage bill. You have to use their language, fiscal consolidation. You have to make sure that your wage align with certain parameters of the GDP. So what we see, IPPIS for the universities and the rest, is nothing, is about how to actually contain wage bills. And you could see salaries are not paid as at when due, and what you receive today may not be what you receive next month. So the case of Kaduna State, the state is indebted and the repercussion will be on the workers, how to retrench workforce and without following due process of declaring redundancy, because development policy financing is affecting. So that is why the local and global context, you cannot isolate it in trying to develop worker education and trade union programs. The third dimension is the future of work. This is the reality we are living now. The world of work is changing. Technology is taking over jobs, climate change, and the youth unemployment. So it means our strategic plan in terms of its thematic areas have to respond to these contextual issues: rise of precarious work, no social dialogue, no right at work, no representation by trade unions. So these are the local and the international context. What of the capabilities and opportunities? Here we try to suggest that, yes, the Institute could leverage many resources. The representative of the Honorable Minister made in his remark the waning resources, and you can't rely heavily on budgetary allocations. There are options. This is an institute situated in West Africa, and we can leverage even on the capital to tap resources to make this center an excellent learning institution in Africa. For example, Dangote is investing across Africa. Through strategic partnership with the capital, we can get funding for worker education that will train workers in Nigeria, in Sierra Leone, in Zambia, through the investment, because they have investment, and productivity is tied to manpower, capacity of the worker. All these development partners that are helping us to do programs, sometimes predictive, but where do they get resources? It's from taxpayers, from their, because even from their capital institutions. So through those resources, we'll be able to channel it to be able to have robust programs. The second dimension of the capabilities and opportunities for trade unions, for example, you can look at all the trade unions organization. If you understand, it can be contextualized, and you can leverage on even their global unions. For example, if you take local government sector unions, this is a union that is key to sustainable development from the grassroots level. And how can that be a basis for conducting training? You can look at the issues. Africa's union is committed to development and decentralization. And through that Africa's Union Charter, UN Habitat, issues of SDGs, but from sustainable cities, which the union at the local government level is key. You can understand and develop concepts around those challenges facing this category of workers and align with these key partners that are working on those areas to be able to develop a program. So these are the areas we thought that leveraging. The final aspect of this presentation is the strategic direction and of the operational plan, which we were asked to do. How can you address that? We suggest that developing an effective theory of change. We need a theory of change. Why do we need theory of change? Based on the strategic plan I read, is that part of the challenges, there are challenges related to resources. There are challenges of segment the constituents, not patronizing the institute. So you have to get an expert of theory of change to be able to develop a strategy to understand why the non-visibility of the institute to larger segment of its constituents, or why the constituents are not patronizing it. How do you do that? You have to do a kind of lead to a common understanding of how change occurs. You have to create awareness on different norms and values of all the stakeholders. You have to generate co-ownership of the program. Help to decide on the scope of the program, support decision-making on what intervention should be pursued to achieve the biggest impact of the program. Then you have to expose gaps in your activities or show where there is an overlap with the activities of other actors within the industry. So once these are done, I believe that the strategic plan will be able to realize its own potentials within the 5-year period. So thank you very much.
that we don't go too fast. So that's the lead speaker for this round. So so let's just get your summary and your thoughts if there are fresh inputs and insights. So we start with Dr. Benjamin.
Mr. Chairman and distinguished participants, I haven't listened to the submission of the NLC. I just like to itemize some critical issues here. As I said in the morning, the strategic plan is very good. It's well laid out. And then very inclusive. A lot of people participated in it, and we are here now from different groups, also trying to validate its content. And as I said in the morning, the major force that is going to make this strategic plan work is the worker, the co-worker of this institute. They are the people that will drive this strategic plan. And then we have noticed within the country, especially for institutions like this, when you have put in place this kind of plan, you have done a lot of training, you have done a lot of, you have paid a lot of price trying to develop your workers, and you don't find them to sit down to do the work. Because, for example, now most of the workers in our institutions, research institutions generally, once they get to a stage, they migrate into universities. In fact, it's even worse now for private universities, where the conditions are a bit better. For example, retirement age and things, other pension benefits. So what I'm saying here is the conditions of service must be very robust. In fact, I'm suggesting here that anything that will be done here should not be less comparable to what obtains in any Nigerian universities, whether in terms of salaries, in terms of remunerations, in terms of earned or peculiar allowances. That is key, because that is the only thing that will allow the workers to concentrate and make this strategic plan function and work to perfection. Someone has also said this, the expansion of funding sources. I was discussing with the DG when we were about to close. I was asking whether MINILS is benefiting from TED fund. The answer is no, because when that fund was opened, initially it was Education Trust Fund, and later it's now metamorphosed into tertiary insurance fund. Now the universities are very selfish. They are very selfish. If members of our schools are here, I would say they are selfish. The word tertiary, because I'm from a sector where we were benefiting from ETF, but when that fund migrated into, when it became TED fund, they started denying the colleges in those sectors because they said they are not tertiary institutions. Now, I don't know if anybody will tell me the meaning of tertiary. A college or an institution that runs diploma programs, diploma, national diploma, higher national diploma, that are accredited by the National Board for Technical Education, even research institutes. those are tertiary, even teaching hospitals, those are tertiary institutions. And so they work within the National Assembly to exclude all those sectors from that fund. And that is exactly what they are doing now. I think we advise that we make a recommendation here that we attract from debt fund. Somebody mentioned endowment fund there. I think a lot has been said on that. PPP arrangement is also an area where the institution here can build infrastructures in order to drive this strategic plan. Let me see whether I have any. Then there's an aspect I see here on the library. Library in some places stand as department. In some places it stand as a unit. It depends on the strength or the capacity of that library. For an institution like MINILS, I wouldn't know the number of the scale of publications that we are expected to put in such a library. If it is a unit, I know MINILS is the only school of this nature, or only institute of this nature in sub-Saharan West Africa. I don't know whether there's any other one. And everybody depends on MINILS. A lot of workers depend on MINILS. In fact, all the universities in this country will be looking up to MINILS for information. So it depends on the kind of library we want to build or want to put up. So let us look at that area very well and see whether we are looking for a small hut as a library that will subsume under another department, or want something that is big and that can serve the purpose of getting well-stocked publications and even driving other areas, servicing the information needs of students, workers. We are talking of MINILS that is for all the workers of this country. So it's not just this small thing you are looking at. By the time we start this strategic plan and this place expands, you marvel at the kind of things that you begin to see. And you may be wondering, we should have done this right from the first stage. As I said, in TUC, we are ready to partner. We are already partnering. Whether for every year we have been coming here, and as I said in the morning, we are going to encourage all our affiliates to patronize the programs of MINILS. And I know that by the time we do that, we are not going to be talking about any problem with funding, with building infrastructures and all the rest of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Akintola. Okay, so we have very few minutes for this round, so I want to encourage the next speakers to be a lot more brief. I know that Brother Yegba is not a long talker.
It's Soweto. Solidarity. You're welcome. I'm coming from the trade union perspective. My name is Ayegba Ojonigwa, the head of education and research for Medical and Health Workers Union of Nigeria. And the strategic plan was forwarded to me earlier, and I went through the entire document and discovered that the group of technocrats who worked on this plan did a very good job. And you know, nothing is absolute. When you bring in validators, definitely knowledge and skills and experiences will equally come out from different angles to enrich what is on ground. And I want to say thank you to those who came up with this document. Now, in coming up or in providing a strategic plan, very fundamental is your vision. And your vision really means where you want to be over time. It is time bound. Number two is your mission. Your mission is what you are in business to do. So if you understand your mission thoroughly, every other thing in the strategic plan will work towards success. But if the mission is miscalculated, every other thing will tumble, because the mission is where you want to be over time, not just where you want to be. And your mission, like I said earlier, is what you are in business to do. So the various activities, the various tools, the various processes falls within your mission, what you are in business to do. Now, I got a message to speak on, activities and tools, as well as consultation levels achieved in developing the plan, the context, national and international, in relation to the Institute's vision, the mission, mandate, and knowledge areas as described in the plan, interrogation of capabilities, opportunities, constraints, potentials of the Institute, strategic direction, and so on. So I will not want to repeat what my other comrades have said, because it will amount to wasting of time. On the activities and tools adopted, I think Comrade Mutaka did adequate justice to that. Then on the context, that's the national and international in relation to the vision of MINILS, I want to suggest I will focus on every worker in Nigeria in the various sectors as elucidated by Dr. Ajagun earlier. We need to expand our scope, because when we talk about funding, participation fee enhances funding, grants enhances funding, aid enhances funding. There are instances where we have grants following in a particular parastatal. Nobody is accessing it because there's no information to that effect. So, but if there is visibility, as explained by the Director General, I want to believe that if there are grants in my institution or in Dr. Ajago's institution or anywhere in the country for training and so on, if you don't relate with them, they will not know you exist. But if you relate, definitely I want to believe that we'll be able to access funds and live beyond the statutory budgets or the statutory allocation. If you depend on the allocation alone, wage bill alone could claim up to 50 to 60% of what is coming to the institute. And at the end of the day, your mandate will not be fulfilled. At the end of the day, you will not achieve what you want to achieve. And if such failure occurs, it is not because the institute lacks skills and competent people, but because there is no money, there is no finance to fund what should be financed. So apart from understanding your vision and apart from putting up a very beautiful strategic plan, without funding, you cannot achieve anything. And on that note, we must crack our heads to see possible areas of funding. Your budgetary allocation is like mandatory, it's your right from government. Then patronage from workers, if you're able to expand your scope, is equally very important, because that will bring more participation fees. Two, there are other international labor federations like the Public Services International, headquarters in France. We have the Industry Hall, Education International, I think Global Transport Federation, so ITF. So there are so many of them out there with grants. They get grants from Ford Foundation, they get grants from Roosevelt Foundation and so on. And these grants are just there until you are able to access. And how do you access? You come up with programs, you come up with projects. And once these projects meet their minimum requirements for disbursement of funds, these funds are being released. Like at the Medical and Health Workers Union of Nigeria, I have a grant of some thousands of euros that we have spent for the National Climate, PSI National Climate Change Project. It's running from 2021 to like 2025. It's a global climate change project, which came up as a result of the recommendations of the United Nations Climate Change Project, which we attended in Madrid in 2019. So now, if as a union we are not affiliated to the Public Service International, definitely we will not have access to the climate change project funds. Now, being affiliated and being aware of what they do, and then liaising with them and aligning our mission and vision to theirs will definitely bring in such funds. And those projects are being run in Nigeria to the benefit of our own citizens because of our ability to liaise with such bodies. So I want to believe that if as MINILS I'm saying as MINILS now because we are critical stakeholders here. We're able to identify the major areas of funding, grants, and aids. We will be able to strengthen our financial base, and that will help in actualizing our dreams. Now, I've spoken about liaising with international labor federations and so on. Interrogation of capabilities, opportunities, and threats. As trade unions, we work in line with the opportunities provided in the draft plan while collaborating to tackle the threats. Now, as a union, I'm coming from the Medical and Health Workers Union of Nigeria. We believe in the mandate of Michael Imodu National Institute for Labor Studies. I came in as head of education in 2016, but I'd worked in other capacities before that time. And for the period I've worked, I want to believe that we've been able to send in participants. And like I discussed with the head of distance learning, Dr. Damade earlier, he said we should think about patronizing other distance learning programs apart from the short courses which we are currently patronizing, increase our patronage in the area of the short courses of 4 days, 5 days, and so on. But there are other programs we need to work on. So if he had not engaged me on that, honestly, I wouldn't have known. And now that I've known, that will now increase patronage, and that will equally help in working towards our dreams. So the opportunities outlined are very all right. We'll work as a union to strengthen the opportunities, and we equally collaborate to tackle the threats. Now, on the strategic direction, the vision should be guided to achieve the plan. Like I said earlier, everything we are doing run around the vision. If we're able to guide the vision diligently, it will equally guide us in working towards the tools adopted, the various activities outlined, and this will help us in actualizing the dreams that we've penciled down for ourselves. I want to thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Comrade Ayegba. So can I also appeal, because we want to end the round with the trade unions. So quickly, so we just have like 5 minutes for both of you, if you don't mind.
Thank you very much. Let me firstly and establish the protocol, and then strictly to audience. Comrades, my name is Comrade Joseph Tundemeshak, the State Vice Chairman of TUC, Kwara State Council. Yeah. Firstly, I want to appreciate this organization for this job well done. Must be sincere with you. We have been one of the best patronage of this institute before now. As the Secretary of the Association of Senior Civil Servants of Nigeria, our members normally come here before. I want to strictly, because of the time limit given to me, but the area I want to talk about is the development stages of the strategic planning with action taken, proposed tools, and whatever adopted. Everything is well elucidated in the plan, and a good job has been done here. And I just want to talk about something that's outside this that will help us in the implementation process. Something is identified here in page 9 with succession plan. That particular area really affected this institution some time ago. And we want this organization to put that into consideration. I must be sincere with you. Before now, we know what this institution stands for. We got to a stage, good numbers of associations, even labor centers are not ready to come back here again. We had a seminar, we were here for a seminar some time ago, and we discovered that the hostels are not even habitable. The environment is somehow. So this particular area is very, very important. That's why I really want to appreciate and acknowledge our man, our father, the leader, Dr. Olariwaju. When he was here, we know what this place stands to gain and what this place stands for. When he left, well, to God be the glory. That's why I want to commend the present management for this good job well done. They are on the right path. The sustainability of this is very, very important. The colleagues, others have spoken about funding and all sorts of things. But this succession plan, because whatever funding and everything you are getting, maintenance and the usage of it is now very, very important. That's where all this now come to play. So we need to really do more analysis on this particular area, because this has really affected and drawn back the institution. Today, the institution in Nigeria, I don't think we have any other. If ASCON is for the other side, this institution, we don't have any other in Nigeria. Today, the facilities in this institution ought to have been more than this. There's nothing bad, and I want the management and the people concerned, let us find means of upgrading this institution. We have to upgrade it. There's nothing bad in upgrading to university, so that the certificate even we also have value and contribute. If you look at all these ministries, yes, you want to go for training and stuff. Apart from the issue of lack of funding, once you get the little funding, people see that we are just going there for leisure and whatever. They're not getting anything because they know they just got there. But when we really look at this and impart into the people that are coming to the institution, and by the time they get back, they are seeing the multiplier effect in what they are doing. I bet you. As it is, by the special grace of God, we are coming back. I'm happy that the DG made mention it before that, yes, the hostels are now put in place, everything we can now. These are the things, let the facilities, everything be. And the publicity aspect of it now, we need to now go back and do that and let the people know that, yes, Michael Imodu National Institute of Labor Study is back and is ready to do the needful. Thank you very much, and God help us all.
Okay, so very, very brief, taking all your time, so, but it was speaking your mind.
Good afternoon, dear comrades. Permit me to stand on the existing protocol. While I wouldn't want to repeat what the earlier speakers have said so far, going through the paper under the thread, I think there is this thing there, excessive encroachment into the mandate of the Institute by other organizations and portfolio consultants. Then I asked myself, why are they doing it? One thing I believe is this institute is our institute, an institute for the labor. And if an organization or portfolio consultant would want to take over the work of this organization and working in relation with labor movements, then something is wrong somewhere. And for us to move forward on this, I think we have to identify all those things. One, is our plan flexible enough to accommodate those people patronizing this organization? Like, do we allow them to bring in their own program that suits their own purpose? Fine. In Nigeria today, we have seen several professors, several PhD holders, that even their thesis cannot be adopted and practically implemented. Why? Because they are doing their work to suit their own purpose under the umbrella of receiving their own certificates. But I want to beg us, the organizer of the program and the institute, to please work with all the industrial unions as it stands. Fine, I want to believe several of the industrial unions engage in educational programs, training and retraining of the executives from all levels. Let's engage them. Let's ask them for what they want and how we can help them achieve this within their own context without affecting our home plan. One thing is this: somebody that comes to your institute with its own plan today you are gaining the confidence of that person. And another thing is, do we get feedbacks from all these people? I don't see anything bad if at the end of each workshop, we circulate a kind of questionnaire for all the participants in three folds: to rate the institution itself, to rate the knowledge passed, and to rate the activities of the, would I call them lecturers now, or the trainers, so that it will keep them on their toes each time we come here for any workshop or any training whatsoever, so that we know that by the time we are coming back, we are meeting something new. Not that what we complained of last week or last year will still be the same thing we are going to complain of this year. Thank you very much.
So, with your kind permission and madam, maybe we'll close this so that at the end of the rounds, you will do a general comment. What do you think? Or do you want to make an input now? Yeah. Because I'm imagining that they may look alike, you know, so. So I get together, so to save our time. Yes, please.
Looking through the documents under threat, is something that I want to appeal to the Honorable Minister on governance, because Chair, non-representation of Trade Union Congress of Nigeria on the Governing Council, so complete completion of the Governing Council. I know that the newly constituted board, I think it's not long that the board was constituted. So it's not out of place to include a stakeholder, a very strong stakeholder like TUC. God bless you. You're not happy for me.
So thank you very much, Trade Union Group. So can we give them a round of applause? Thank you so much for your inputting. I'm sure it will go a long way in helping us finalize our plan. So I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. So very quickly, yes, oh, sorry.
Thank you. I actually was going to make an observation. I don't know how you people want to go about this, but I particularly thought if you ask them to make some inputs and we find things we need to interrogate, you give us opportunity to discuss them. So that at the end of the day, whatever we find useful, we can run with it. And it's important so that we know the direction we are going. Because the way it's looking to me is not looking as if we are discussing the plan. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but it doesn't look to me as if we are discussing the plan. My take is that we need to look at that plan and see if this plan actually can take you to the promised land. For instance, our brothers in labor made a good number of points. There is a good number of issues that I thought should be in the plan. And if they're not in the plan, it means we're not moving in the right direction. My pain most times is that when we are called to discuss plans of this nature, we see it as one way or the other as a platform to praise ourselves rather than critique ourselves. When everybody agrees, nobody's thinking. And that's the truth. So what I want us to do, please, is to look at this plan. Let's forget all the beautiful stories you wrote. Let's look at this plan. For instance, where is Dr. Labor Doctor? Where is he seated? Doctor simply told you people a story of how you can take advantage of openings within the sector. And we have that in our executive order. Is that 7 or seven or eight executive order, where some of these agencies can actually be involved and get benefit from tax relief. You get the point? It's a case of how do we incorporate this into what we're doing? What plans do we have that we can leverage on, that can enable us leverage on it? If we look at this, I've tried to go through this plan, and I tried to relate what he said and what my brother there said. And somebody even talked about upgrading this place. Is it part of your plan? What plans do you have to upgrade this place? If you don't have such plans, are you thinking of actually leveraging from the TED fund somebody talked about? You can't leverage from it. You can't wake up one morning and say because you award a diploma degree certificate, therefore you leverage on it. It's a law, and you can't be changed for you. So these are the things I want us to look at in this plan, so that we won't begin to look at other issues, and at the end of the day, we're not achieving our desired goal. If this plan cannot take you to where you want to go to, Dr. Anisha, if your plan cannot take MINILS to where we want to go to, and we validate it, we have failed. If it's not going to take us there, please let us collectively say, no, we have not gotten it right. Let's go back and do some work to get it right. That is the issue, the observation I really wanted to make. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think from all the analysis we have had, these are things that the plans has already addressed. I quite appreciate the NSC mapping and all those things, but we are past that stage because we have a plan before us now. And I think, like we have just discussed here, what we should be doing now is taking the strategic goal one by one and to see how implementable these strategic goals are. So if you look at pages 12, we would now want to say strategic goal 1, a compact and feasible labor institute that is effective in the pursuit of its mandate. How do we achieve this? They have stated what they intend to do. We move to goal 2, goal 3. How do we translate this one to reality? I think those are areas we also want to focus on. Yes, we can identify 1 or 2 areas about the background and all that, but please let's focus on those strategic goals to be able to know whether those goals are implementable within the strength, within the opportunity, within the capability, and within the weakness.
Yes, but I think that the strategic goals are not cast in stone. That's why we're here. So, yes, and then even because the intervention of the NLC man is very instructive. He was even talking about theory of change, from where these strategic goals are derived, right? A political economy analysis that will lead to correct goals. So this is the thing. When he said, let's talk about theory of change, I'm like, yeah, because you don't just do SWOT. You have to do a political economy analysis, a theory of change analysis, and then so pursue even rather than SWOT, pursue, and then SWOT, and then you. So it's actually when he's raising TOC, theory of change, is actually questioning whether we should proceed with these strategic goals, because we may see more relevant, easily attainable, and even a goal that will achieve and attain and can be achievable and can reposition the institute even beyond our imagination, because these are doable things with all the options that are coming out now. Look at the vision. The vision is talking about regional stuff. Okay, so we must think about all those things. So this, I think that we must think that we can, if we need to go back to drawing board, are we afraid? No. It's better to be inconsistent than to persist in error. So if we need to go back to drawing board, we should go back to, that's why we are here. Like one of the people here, this said that if we are here and we don't make any impact, I think it was Madam or Mary Arisi, that we have deceived ourselves, or was it the minister himself? The minister himself said so. Okay, if the minister himself is not afraid of things being whirled around, I don't think we should be afraid. So we should think about that, about how we can proceed forward on even raising the bar. If we are looking at a vision,
our vision is quite lofty. The vision is a regional. Hey, what page is it, Seth? Page 1. A regional, a regional center of excellence. So you are looking. So what vision means, you are looking at a regional center of excellence. That's the meaning of vision. It's not to be, it is what you are looking at. So how you get there? You need a theory of change. You need a political economy analysis, that is, everything must lead to that regional excellence. So every department will work towards that regional. Everything must lead back to getting that regional excellence. And whereas you're also thinking locally of our own of the sustainability or national development sustainability. So we must question whether these goals will take us to regional excellence and whether we need to look and interrogate these things. That is my.
Thank you very much, Ma. No. We cannot say what we also what Madam have said. We want all the contribution. Even people are now talking of legislative intervention. For instance, there is no way you can improve tech fund without getting the act amended. We are talking of NSC. If you look at the Act of MINILS, and I think there is a process already to amend this law. The act simply says that 2 workers to be nominated by NLC. That word NLC has constrained the ministry. And we tried severally, but I know there is a process to amend those laws. So what we are saying is all these observations we have made quite relevant. In fact, one of the best observations that NSC has made is even talking about the future of work, which is a new trend now. In what way will news participate in the new normal, in the new changes that are going on? But we want a situation where we do these things once and for all and leave. Once we identify all these areas, how do they impact on these goals we have set? So that we can round up these things as early as possible. All the things we have identified, like what the TUC have identified, is a threat. And if this threat is not addressed, it will affect these goals. If some part of the union feel they are not part of it, they are not integrated, there is no way they can be an active participant. So once we identify all this, we should now go beyond, like the minister have said, to see how these things can affect the goals that we have set. So once we do that, I think we need to move forward. The background is very important. All these things are very important. But please, as much as possible, let us link all these things into all the goals. Oh, this one will help us to improve on these goals. This observation will help us. Informal sector, they are there. In fact, more than 50% of the population are engaged there. How do we tap into training there? What can we do? How do we partner? So once we identify these areas, please, as much as possible, let us link into the goal. All the observations that have been made are very germane, they are very important. But we also want them to see dovetailed into this goal. Let me just give one opportunity, Madam. So once you give us, I think we move to the next stage.
Observations in isolation. I looked at the issue of stating clearly in the document the theory of change is germane because it's not stated anywhere here. So MINILS should try to do that. But I want us to match, whilst looking at the strategic goals and objectives, we want to match it with the table at the end before we critique to say whether something is there or not. And I want to point out an example because somewhere in that table, there is a place where it is suggested for establishing partnerships with stakeholders for the purposes of leveraging funding for their program. So I want us to look at them vis-a-vis so that we will not be suggesting something as if it is not there. Thank you.
No, please. No, they will still talk about their observation. Let's look at this and see whether they are confident or there's something we can add.
And to suggest further, after all the observations, there are
So let's have the next group. We have observed.
For any reason, we approach this academically. Or theoretically, if you choose. You look at the templates, and once the templates are there, you are comfortable. It's very dangerous. The templates may be there, but it's important for you to look at what is there and actually identify the things you need to do to move that thing from that point to another. Okay, you talked about collaboration. We all know that if you have a program, you develop a good program in your plan, that this is what we want to do. This is how we want to do it. Somebody who wants to put in his money will sit in his office and look at your plan and say, yes, it looks as if people are going in the right direction. I want to collaborate with them. It's your document that will speak for you. You will not be there to explain to them that you have done this template, is beautiful. You are going to collaborate with stakeholders. No. The type of stakeholder you want to collaborate, for God's sake, should be part of your plan. You must identify it, and it must be part of your plan. You must state it there. Because that is, like Madam said, those are part of the plans you want to take that will lead you to the next place you want to go to. Let us look at this document simply, not very intellectually. Let's look at it, let's simplify it. You get the point? And pick up, for instance, MINILS. Let's be honest with ourselves. There are ways you develop your program. The world will be their path to this place. And if you develop them, did you talk about visibility? If you develop them and the world does not know what you're doing, nobody comes here, no matter who your partner is. Even your partners will not be interested in what you're doing. But you must develop your program, outline them, and tell the world what you want to do, how you want to do it, and where you want to be. They will not decide on their, oh, yes, they are going, I want to go with them, because nobody wants to go with a confused person. So my take, honest, let's have a guideline on how to approach this. And let's be critical about it, and let's concretize it. If we are going to look for money through Mr. A, we'll design the program and plans to suit him, to attract him. And you get that's my take, that's my worry. And I think I am not critiquing this plan, but I think we can improve on it.
Yeah. Thank you very much, the Honorable Minister. I think we can give him a round of applause. Where you are there today, we have to call you. Please, we have started a process, and I think along the way we will amend this process. But it is also good to let us know what the stakeholders feel, the way we have given the first group some attention. So, Edwin will call the next group of stakeholders who will talk about their concern, their prospects on this and possibly any of the goals they have identified. After we have taken this group, then we will now link it to each of the strategic groups. So please, the next group.
So,
but we want it very brief.
Very brief. Maybe
Very
one
brief.
speaker in the group, and then we quickly go. So very fast. All right. So quickly, we want to hear from the employers. So we hear from Mr. Olushola Ayodele, and then from Kwasima, Engineer Abu. Please, very quickly. Okay, please. No, you don't have to use it now. So it's a summary, and then we can. Yes. Very quickly, sorry. If he has any points to add. Yes. So very quickly. So not more than 5 minutes if you can. Okay, thanks.
Just to be brief, and from the last group of people, I think one of the observations that we also identified, yes, there was a SWOT analysis that was done, but nevertheless, for this kind of plan, I think there is need for us to also look at the political, the pestle aspect of it, which is very critical for us to understand what are the things that could affect whatsoever operations that we think that we want to do in order to achieve the desired goal. That's one. Then two, on the core values, we find out that it's too plenty, that there are some things that we can also match together, like the issue of professionalism, service orientation, client focused, and development centeredness. I think they still speak more on one core issue that we can match together, and we think that we can reward all these the four into excellence in service delivery. Yes, transparency is very critical, diversity and general gender sensitivity. So in whole, we can match them to 4 to 5 core values, which every employee, every member of the institute can easily remember it at any point in time, because it's not just for us to have it lending core values that you asked Mr. A today. You can't even remember any one of it. I think it's very strategic. Then going to the vision talks about a regional center. And I think in one of the goals, we are talking about an Africa-centered. So I think we need to also be consistent in what we want to achieve. Is it an African, a Pan-Africa center, or a ECOWAS regional center? I think those are the critical. Africa is not a region.
He's talking about the left for yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, correct. I get this. Yeah.
I think then
regional, sub-regional,
yeah. Then in the area of marketing or advertising our products, I think during the plenary, the DG gave me as in representing the session a hard copy of the documents. And like I mentioned, we have member complaints all over the country. And the point is, will I photocopy this particular document and start sharing to the 4,000 member companies that I have? The issue is, do I have the financial muscle to start doing that? Why can't we have it in soft copy and share? And easily for me, with my phone or my laptop, I can easily send it out to all my member companies for them to have these programs year in, year out. So I think we also need to look at digitalization technology in the area that as we are marketing. The issue of social media, it's also essential. I try to check MINILS on the Twitter or Instagram. And I think maybe for me, I didn't see them on the social media. So it's another area for us we're talking about visibility. And everybody is going digital these days. So I think we should also try to incorporate those kind of things. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So a round of, so that's from the perspective of the employer. It's important yes.
All protocols duly observed. Let me start from page 5, organizational structure and governance. We looked at it from that point that the organization called MINILS, like everybody has observed, is not visible enough. And so we ask ourselves, do you really have a robust website that people can tap into to know more about you? Number two, we feel in your organizational structure, you should deliberately introduce a marketing department or unit. And this marketing department should also have a satellite unit in the other geographical zones in Nigeria to sell you and to also link you up with other organizations that will need your service. Now, when we also look at page 6, where we were talking about some issues here, some external challenges, we believe that you need a kind of protection from the Federal Ministry of Labor. And then there must be a deliberate attempt to put in place a kind of enabling environment in terms of either law or regulation to protect you, so that all the people that are infiltrating into your territory can be warded off.
Thank you.
We also feel that we saw you talking about infrastructural decay and the rest. We feel there is need for you to introduce into all your processes and procedures what I'm from the oil and gas background, so please permit me. We feel there is need for you to give a touch of what we call SSHE, which is safety, security, health, and environment. I don't want to go into details of all that. We also feel there is need for you to have, in where I retired from ExxonMobil, we have what we call OIMS, Operational Integrity Management System. This system is just like what you are calling your framework. It has a loop that fits in, and at the end of the day, it has a loop that fits back. And by that, you now create a kind of self-adjusting mechanism that will help you to be improving on your processes and procedures with time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, with that said, most of the inputs that are coming from all of us today, you can look at it and say, okay, yeah, from there, let's do this, let's do this. Right. And from time to time, you can be calling some of us to interact with you.
Yeah. Thank
Let me leave it at that.
Thank you very much. For the employers, can we give them a round of applause? So at the end of the rounds, please, you'll be allowed to give your question. So quickly, we've heard already largely from government. I don't know whether, Honorable Minister, you want to make any comments. The woman who's from Kwara State government has already spoken during the, sir, do you want to make general comments?
I had the privilege of participating in the labor law review, and some of the suggestions you proffered were canvassed, but of course, you know, somebody will pay for them, and the man who sat by your side, the Necker man, they shut down most of it because they are the worst paid. So when you were talking, I was looking at both of you to see if the battle will start from there. So, but the fact remains that the government actually is mindful of the challenges and is also making effort. And believe you me, by the time the act of the institute will be finally reviewed, some of the bottlenecks would have been taken care of. That's the only.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for him. So very quickly, let's get the next set. Civil society. Can we have you, civil society? Let's also put here women and those with special needs. So. Can we also have informal sector here? So, Mr. Wenger. Yes. Okay. Very quickly, civil society. Fast.
Yeah, thank you very much. As far as we are concerned by the invitation and this document, this to align with the Honorable Minister, Mrs. Famro, this is a working document, the way we see it. it's a working document. We are expected to make input. Like Mrs. Flamro said, it's not casted in stone. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. And we are bringing a developmental approach into it. So first, observations. The terms of reference must also be accompanied by a pathway. Because if you have a term of reference without a pathway, then it's not complete. So you must develop a pathway to it. Also, under strategy goal 2, objective 2.4, yes, the DG and some have talked about media visibility. Not only media visibility and popularity. So you should include the word popularity. Yes, you can be visible and not popular. You have to be popular to make impact. Then under 2.3, you want 10,000 participants annually. What is the capacity of your participant now? I think it's too ambitious. So that's why the theory of change will lead, and pathway will lead by so and so, but we'll be here, we'll be here, we'll be here. Yes, and how, thank you, sir, how you want to bring it. Then also, the world is moving. Clean energy transition. I cannot see it visibly here. So renewable energy and and climate action. Thank you, sir. And there are a lot of funds lying low. You have to develop the capacity to access them. So partner with civil society organization and you get it. And also, don't limit your partnership, the academic education aspect to only, like the minister said, not only theory, even in research. Knowledge, attitude, and practice must be merged together. Thank you. I have so many this thing, but let me just give.
So keep in mind that we need to receive your document, your submission. So this is just for a summary. So. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you so much. I want to also adopt the already existing protocol, and I'm happy to be here. My classification into the civil society group, only I'm still contesting it. I think I'm here on the platform of the labor movement. And in labor movement, you have the trade union and the civil society.
So you want us to take our mic from
However, this plan is apt and is desirable within the context and the narrative of the current trends in the world of work. And looking at the role and interventions of the Michael Imodu National for Labor Studies, a product of the third National Development Plan, I think is something that is a welcome development. However, I've gone through the documents and I know that it is not a cast in stone process. For every plan, it's a dynamic process that calls for constant review. So I have looked at it, and being an internal stakeholder too, I've been able to identify critically how the Institute can utilize her resources towards building a very strong alliances between labor and civil society, using the concept of social movement unionism, because that is a trend globally. The decline in union membership had made it imperative for engagement with civil society in order to deepen the civic space of engagement, even in negotiations, at a broader level. At times there will be call for action on the issue of, on economic issue, like the energy issue, the issue of downstream issue, that has to do with deregulation and the rest.
So what I'm saying in essence is that the institute have to look at it too. I've seen one or two things to broaden the space in terms of how labor and civil society can have a very strong connection. You see, when you have a very strong civil society, the nation will have less of crisis. Those countries we run to, they develop because they have a very strong civil society. So I think these are the things that we should look at. And so I put down here that there must be the concept developed by the Institute to enshrine the principle of social movement unionism, and also to ensure that programs are developed for civil society organizations to also attend. The Institute too have to make sacrifice at times. It is not all programs that should be paid for. And that is why the Institute can access grants, because that is the only way to draw participation. You can bring in participants who only pay for accommodation and not cost fee, and you take responsibility of other costs.
I even have a grant for it.
Exactly. So with that, because to achieve the target number of participation, you also need to find a way of attracting people to this. But I know during the tenure of Dr. Larewaju, programs were organized for trade union and civil society, the Labor Summit, and of course, even at the local level here, the NSA and TUC leadership workshop. I think those things at times can also bring people closer. Next time when you invite them, they will be ready to pay. But of course, you must attract, it's a marketing strategy. Then we must also model our programs around the ILO, ITC concept, because when we say we want to make this institute a global institution, we must also look at the global trend in training, in development of human capital. So we have to look at it critically, because I've seen that looking at the plan, there are a lot of things that need to be restructured. To say academic department, we have to interrogate it. I mean, this is a training and development institution. We have to look at it. I've always advanced that we can have, a college that will take care of academic and professional programs. Then our training programs can be well articulated to meet the client's needs after we have carried out thorough need assessment. So I think we need also to be clear about some of these structures. And I have made some suggestions in my submission how some departments have to be restructured. Because at times you have trade union education department and you have labor management relation department. So I think we have to look at so that there will not be clashes in terms of the delivery, the outcomes of such engagement. So I think with all this, that I want to look at the issue of physical infrastructure as contained in page 19, that is goal 5.3. I think that is very important. The physical infrastructure has to be improved upon. And of course, like having develop it within the global trend in training and in academic studies. So lastly, I want to draw attention to digital knowledge. I think is in, sorry. Okay. The 5 to 10%, that is in goal 3.4, page 17. Now the world is going digital and we cannot be left behind. I know even ILO, ITC have this massive online courses program. I think we can look at it too, so that instead of 5 to 10%, I'm proposing 20% of online courses and programs that the Institute can also key into, because you don't have to bring everybody in physically. Then it can make that 10,000 attainable. So we can have online participants. And finally, subject matter expertise or specialty is very important. The DG mentioned it. We need to draw in our veterans also to strengthen our resource base in terms of our delivery. We need them, those who say have the capacity. AG4 can still come here, I know. Yes, I know some of them who had at one time or the other had contributed to the development of trade unionism, who can bring, and also we have Professor Olorode from the civil society angle, who can still bring his expertise to bear in terms of developing the capacity of Nigerian workers and the civil society. I remember when I brought in my union last year, about 125 participants, I insisted we should have somebody from the civil society, Professor Kojo Akinyoju. And of course, his paper is still a reference point in resolving some internal dispute in my union up to today. Aluta continua Victoria Sata. Thank you so much.
Do you want to speak now? Very quickly.
Thank you so much. The strategic goal number 3, that's an equal learning opportunity provides. I represent people with special needs. I talk much about having equal education opportunity. But if you look at page 17, that is section 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3. I talk more about the special need. But the only area is the accessibility. The accessibility. You may have someone that's on wheelchair. So ramp need to be provided so that we take care of people with special needs. So that's the area. Thanks so much.
Thanks very much. That's actually incorporated already under the renewal master plan. You'll find it there. All right. So women. Thank you. No, hold on.
Good afternoon, everyone. I stand on the already established protocol. It's just that the first thing I noticed, though somebody has spoke on it, is weakness, the online presence. You know, the world, the way the world is going now, we just don't, there's no way you can push it aside. We must go. IT is order of the day. And that is the only way to encourage our younger ones. Just like in NCWS, when you mention NCWS, you want to see older women, elderly women coming out. So we just look at it last year. That was how we now established NCWS youth. They even have a president just to carry them along, because after some time, most of these spaces will see, even my own, will to be so old that we can't be able to do anything again. So it's only IT, social media, that is the only way to catch them. That is where their interest is. And also, I'm so happy when I went through the draft, at least it's gender sensitive. Gender is being carried along, the goal 3. But what I just want to add again, the models, let it be simplified. Let it not be so ambiguous so that our older women will flow with us. And also, just like the other speaker said, if we can, the cost, because I understand that for some time now, you don't even see participants from National Council of Women's Societies. So this is a very good one now. We will be able to carry them along. But I know where we are going to have some issues is the cost. Now, if we can get somebody or an organization that can subsidize for them, I think they'll be very, very interested, because when you stop learning, you are already a dead person. We'll keep on learning. So please, that's just our thing. If there's a way that the women will be, considered, maybe getting a grant, something to cut it down a little, so that we'll move with time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's also considered, and I'd like to turn it on the head that by also saying that women can also secure grants to come and subscribe to courses here. So you pick course here, get some agency to sponsor you to attend. So that's not to say we will not also subsidize. I'm just, thank you. Yeah, that's just it. Yes, so informal sector, very quickly.
Thank you. I don't know how very quickly it's going to be. I have a serious issue, the way we have lumped informal issues around informal economy and with other categories. The truth is that the informal economy is very important. It employs over 85% of the active working population. and it contributes over 65% to the GDP, according to the IMF. So we can no longer continue to treat issues around informal economy as an addendum. So I think there are a whole lot of issues around education and capacity building in the informal economy that I think it deserves to stand all alone. So I'm going to be, there are all sorts of stuff I've jotted down. I'm going to be focused on goal 3. And like I've said, even the statement, the goal statement, if it's going to be of specific relevance to the informal economy, it should be reframed and much more specific to the needs and issues in the informal economy. Then there is reference to, under targets, that there will be 10% of courses, which implies perhaps 10% of resources and focus on informal economy. I think it's too paltry, given the vastness, the heterogeneity and diversities in the informal economy, which of course tend to be relegated to the background. And I want to say that the whole economy, the whole society is the loser for it. There are training needs around occupational health and safety. Welders are still going blind because they don't use protective goggles. Barbers and hairdressers still give people HIV because they don't take simple precautions. They are not aware of the risk involved. Mechanics still use mouth to funnel fuel. It can give you cancer. Spray painters still spray vehicles without overalls. It can give you leukemia, and so on and so forth. So on occupational health and safety alone, there is a whole lot of training gap because the traditional apprenticeship system does not reckon with these realities. And so people suffer unnecessarily because nobody gives attention. And so I'm just using that as an example of how grave the issues are in the informal economy. There are training needs around entrepreneurship, not the way you address it in the formal, sectors. People need to be introduced to basic bookkeeping and business management principles so that even their little businesses can be properly, better managed, documented, and so on and so forth. There are issues around, there are training needs around social protection. Workers in the informal economy need to understand issues around social protection, what they can do to help themselves, and the responsibility of government to also intervene in terms of access of people working in the informal economy to basic social protection, old age care and support system, maternity care and support system, sickness and disability care and support system. These are real issues in the informal economy and that are not taken care of in any, specific government policies, frameworks, and so on. So there are diverse training needs, and I think the institute actually needs to devote more attention. I see in the output that there's a talk of policy. I don't know if this policy has been formulated already. If it has been formulated, I think it's not good enough because it will have been formulated without the direct input of people working in the informal economy. And I think that input is very important. There are issues also even about access. Some people before me have talked about the need for some of these things, not just to be subsidized, but to actually be offered free. If you want a mechanic to come for a program here, it's not just about the cost of the program. It's also about the cost of leaving his business for 3 or 4 days to come here. So some of them will not even come, not even because of what you are charging, but because he doesn't want to leave that place for 3 or 4 or 5 days. It's costly. When workers come here, they are usually sponsored by the employers. So who sponsor informal workers will be part of these trainings. So these are real issues. So if you want to design trainings that are relevant for informal workers, and I think this institute should, if we really want to be truly a point of excellence in terms of workers training, there must be free, accessible, well-tailored programs and trainings focused on the needs in the informal sector. People have talked about online. There are possibilities for what they call MOOC, massive online training programs, which are completely free and which already some of my members participate in some of these kind of programs, offered by some development organization. I think MINILS could also take advantage of this kind of training opportunity. And so then I think there is need to have specialized faculties, that actually were versed in issues relating to the various kind of issues in the formal economy, especially training issues, to help develop very concise courses and programs that could be of relevance to people working in the informal economy towards boosting productivity and overall well-being of people working there, to the benefit of all of us. Let me just stop there.
I'm going to appeal to you because the same trend to be very, very, very brief because we want to take the last round now.
Thank you very much. I will go straight to the mission of MINILS. It says building the capacity of workers, employers, and government officials in labor and industrial relations through training, research, education, and inter-institutional linkages to promote labor management relations, best practices, and industrial harmony for sustainable development. Now, from this mission, it is obvious that MINILS covers everywhere. It covers workers, employers, government, officials in labor, and it has to do with relationship. And it's still in training, research, and education, as well as interinstitutional linkages. Now, from this, I would say that from the strategic plan, this is a surgical as well as retreat institute for workers. All right. Now, the uniqueness of this strategic plan by MINILS is in its multifaceted training and education of workers. But going straight to the analysis of SWOT, we have poor funding. Well, from this perspective, poor funding is a general challenge. Everywhere you go to, at individual level, at institutional level, even at governmental level, it's a challenge. So I would say it's not something new. So what do we do? Then financial intelligence, profiles that we go back to our board. We have plan A, we have plan B. Should we don't have the fund we want, are we going to abandon this project? We go back and set our priorities right. What do we attend to such that if we attend to them, it will still give us some laudable percentage of achievement, all right? I will go to the second one. We have threats. Because of time, threats. Now, it says excessive, I think the first one, excessive encroachment into the mandate of the institute by other organizations and portfolio of consultants. I have a little challenge with the word encroachment. Sorry, in 2020, we have lockdown, and schools were shut down, okay? But we still have some institutions who were offering online courses and all of that, okay? I was affected because I was on my postgraduate program. I had to abandon everything because of the lockdown. But some colleagues elsewhere were going on. So if I decide to go for another degree in another institution who have facility for the online courses, would you say that such institution encroached the program of the former institution I was? No. It caused this cause that we need to go back to the board as an institute and find out what is it that we are not getting right that other so-called encroaching organizations are leveraging on. That's the one. Then quickly, I will go on. I have a few notes on strategic directions. It says arresting declining numbers in patronage. Arresting declining number in patronage. Of course, the patronage is declining. So why is declining numbers? Why declining number of patronage? Number one is inadequate information about the nature and scope of MINILS. I said it earlier on that MINILS is everywhere. They are into training, research, publication, policy analysis, technical assistance, education, advocacy, and consultancy. Now, how many union or workers are aware of this scope? That's the question. We need to step up on client needs. We need quality, seasoned, and motivated researchers who would be on top of this game. How do we go about it? You may need to go for partnership with other, labor and training-oriented organizations who will come in and, synergize with the institute. Then secondly, providing more convenient learning experiences for labor, especially through low residency programs and remote learning. And I said, we need to go, it has been said that we need to go into remote learning so that people can connect from anywhere in the world they are. Then finally, bridging observed gap. This is in the mandate, so you can just follow me. Bridging observed gap and knowledge gap, okay, within trade unions, employers, government officials, and other social partners in order to ensure industrial harmony and foster national development. How is this achievable? Now, number one, new thought on psychology of work and labor. You will agree with me that we need a new thought on the psychology of work and labor. So many things are going wrong because of our mindset as workers, as labor. A shift needs to be brought in from what do I contribute? What do I have to contribute? What is my value before I begin to think of reward? But we have workers, we have laborers who wants to get reward before you contribute. So this is really affecting our psychology as a whole, and it's telling on our nation. And lastly, we need correctional thoughts on the philosophy of unionism, especially negotiation skills. If you follow recent trends, I think you will agree with me that we need to go back to class on skills as far as negotiation is concerned. We have management and we have labor, we have management. In between them is a skill of negotiation. So these are trainings and these are areas that we really need to get back on and level up our curriculum. Thank you.
So thank you very much. I want to thank him. He's from NIWOSEC.
Nigerian Workforce Strategy and Enlightenment Center, NIWOSEC. Thank you.
All right, so very quickly, the last round, we want to get academics. So thank you very much, gentlemen and ladies. So the last round, so we call on those from the academia. Dr. Kilishi, Dr. Habibat, Dr. Ajagu. How are you? And I don't think I've missed anyone, but I'm going to call also on the lawyer. So we'll make this a combination that there's no further round. Okay. So the lawyer, Barrister Marcel Ode. So he will give us a perspective from the law. Okay. To wrap it up.
Excuse me. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I don't want to just gloss over this information. I saw my name written, Dr. Larewaju, Senior Research Fellow. Yeah, I was a Senior Research Fellow at one time and Head of Training and at the Legislative and Democratic Studies, where I am still operating. But we have been able to build the training from being a division to now training and international relations. And having nurtured that to become a full department, I don't think I have to be. I'm now a consultant at the Legislative Institute to that training and international relations department. I have allowed the younger ones to move as senior research fellows and some others. So please note and make that corrections for me. Thank you so much. Okay, so thanks so much for that. I think we can, where we're starting.
Okay. Thank you so much. For the sake of time, I will be very brief. When I was reading this document, I was starting on the lighter note, University of Ilorin. I was thinking that what is this unit doing about ASU strike? So anyway, on the document, the first thing that came to my mind was on the date. I have the feeling that to go along with the National Development Plan 2021-2025. So instead of 2022-2026, that is the first one. Then the second thing is that I went to the website of MINILS to check what is there. I found out that the website is not fully developed. Some items are still empty. I actually went to things like publication, nothing is there. A number of them, nothing is there. So we need to develop the website fully. Then the third one has to do where we have the strength, the weakness, the opportunities, and the challenges. I think in this document, there should be a section that will tell us how we are going to use the strength to the advantage of the unit, how we are going to address the weakness and the threats. So there's a section, that section is missing. There should be a section that will address that. Then something is also missing in the document. What is the financial implication of this plan? There's need to do a focus, a financial focus implication of the plan. There's need to do that. It's also missing in the document. So I also want to say that when you look at the table where you have the goals and the targets and all of that, you are just starting. This is not going to be the end of the whole thing. Each of the identified responsible units need documents where we must be more specific to tell us that this is exactly what we are going to do to implement this plan. For example, you say you are going to introduce courses for informal sector. What specific courses are you going to introduce? So there should be further documents by each unit that will support this implementation of the plan. Then I look at the table where you have the target and the performing indicators. Some of the indicators are not measurable, which is also very important. The indicators should be measurable. So we need to address that. Then finally, I didn't see the relationship with ILO here. It is important for this institute to be relating with them closely. Thank you.
Thank you very much. From where my colleagues stop, I'll be talking from an academia perspective. Permit me to go through these documents page by page. I'm sorry, I won't take much of your time. I'll be very brief. Yeah. Looking at the documents critically, I want to talk about the layout first. You know, in academia, where we come from, before you could come up with something, there must be an issue or a background that is bringing you up to where you are. So on that, I want to suggest that the background information of the institute should come first before telling us about the vision and mission. So having said that, we can also bring in the organizational structure and governance in line with the background and also the context. So on this context, should be able to tell us the situational analysis of what is happening here in MINILS. And also even in the society, in the country, international community and all that. We should be able to have information about industrial actions that has been happening within the country or even in West African countries. And we should also have information about the frequency as part of the context. Then also what has the institute done or what has been done by those concerned in resolving some of these issues as part of the context. Then I'll go to the vision. That is the category 2. The vision, mission, core values. The previous speaker talked about merging some of the core values, because what we have here is so numerous. And I want to suggest that since core values are fundamental driving forces that is going to project the institute, we should be able to have guiding principles. For instance, on professionalism, the institute should be able to tell us how they are going to demonstrate expertise, responsibility, and accountability in line with the vision and mission of the institute, instead of having so many voluminous core values and all that without clear direction. You should be able to state in clear terms what is it that the institute exemplify with this professionalism, diversity, and gender, and all that. Then also, as part of this session, also, the mandate of the institute should be well stated, and also the broad objectives. Then also, we should be able to have specific objectives or strategic objectives. On this, I was able to identify some, on page 4, we have some key activity sets and knowledge area of the institute. On this, I consider as key, the key areas for strategies, and it should come under the second section, which I have just identified. Then also very quickly on the development stages of strategic plan, which I have tagged as strategies analysis. This should be able to tell us where the institute is currently and should be able to tell us where you intend to go to. For instance, the activity should be able to capture key strategic operations area, like I just identified here. We have the training, research, publication, policy analysis, and all that. What are those objectives that the institute has set aside in order to meet the training demand of some of the prospective students? What are the research areas that the institute intends to leverage into in area of technical assistance, consultancy, and all that? We should be able to spell this out in clear terms. And also, the institute should be able to tell us in this strategic plan who does what, and should also give us a timeline. And most importantly, like my colleague said, they should establish a success criteria. There should be a success matrix that will be able to tell us those key performance indicators. Once we have set as a goal, objective that is going to meet it, then as these areas be met, as these goals be met in the long run, this should be able to tell us. Then on area of analysis of strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats, this is just a reflection of what the institute is good at, that is the strength. And we should be mindful of, I thought, tripartite nature. We should be mindful of bureaucracy here, because we are seeing that as a strength. It may come out to be a weakness. So we have to be careful about that. Then also the strength should also focus more on the environment, our resources as human and non-human resources, then the support services that the institute intends to also give, the purpose, the environment, and all that. Then on weaknesses also, we should be able to state in clear time what is preventing the institute from attaining the goals which has been set. How can all these weaknesses be eliminated, and so on and so forth. I have them here. I'll hand them over to you later. Then on the opportunities, you should be able to tell us the hurdles that is exploiting these opportunities and the strategies for exploiting them, and probably the duration of time that you need to explore some of these opportunities. And also the threats should be able to tell us how it affects the institute in the strategic plan. Then, so on the strategic direction also, which I mentioned earlier, I should capture the goals, objective, action plan, cost implication, responsibilities by who, time frame, implementation plan, evaluation of success of the plan, and also the success matrix in measurable terms. Thank you very much.
I hope we will get the submission. So everybody will also need to give us a submission. So quickly, Dr.
Thank you very much. All protocols observed. I think having listened to all the statements from the first group till now, a lot of things have been said, and I want to advise the MINILS that some of these things will be built into the strategic plan to improve it. Others will be used to develop what we call a work plan. Because we can, or implementation guide, it may not even be implementation guide across board, because every year, like 2022, what do you want to achieve in 2022? Taken from the strategic plan. In the first quarter, in the second quarter, in the third quarter, and in the fourth quarter, to make an annual plan, and so on. And the details, some of these details need to be there, because that is a more concrete and specific working document. If we put all those details into this plan, the booklet might be too voluminous, and it may not turn out to be a strategic plan. From the word strategic, it coincides and to the point. Having said that, my observations were actually on, I will start from from this, from where you have your organizational structure. Because this strategic plan, I expect that, please, if your website is not functional, that is well developed and updated regularly, you need to do that if you want to be truly visible. Because sometimes institutions that you cannot reach, when they are planning for training their personnel, go on Google. So Google, what do you really have to offer with respect to training our officers, especially those that are now leading the unions in our organization? They will come to you, and your website has to be accessible and updated very, very regularly. But in addition to that, you made in the booklet, I don't know the page now, but there is a section where you talk about your organizational structure, the description. I'm not very familiar with your organizational structure, so I couldn't critique it. But I expect that since it is MINILS that put this together, they must have exhausted the structure of the organization. But then, in a plan like this, there should be an at a glance. That second table that was put there was meant to serve that purpose, but it's not serving it. A pictorial at a glance would be better, would do it better. So note that, so to translate that to at a glance, after the description, just give us a picture so that we look at the flow of governance, organogram, the flow and the various departments who they report to, and so on and so forth, and their functions and their leadership and so on. So that is one. Then on the main draft itself, beginning from development strategies on page 7 that continues to page 8, I could see, first of all, I think from this document, some has been corrected. I noted some errors because I saw 2022 and I wondered, I was here in 2021 and I met a comrade. So at that time, was he not yet the DG of this place? So but seeing this, it has been corrected. So that's on a general note. Please do another thorough editorial of this plan. And then on the main strategic plan itself begins on page 51, really, because it's like at a glance of your plan. Now, a lot has been said. Most of the discussions that have gone on borders on what I call what I say, for example, the outputs, they are not delineated properly. That is being very specific. And then the target must always come with timelines, unless you want to have a timeline separately. But like this, you can say, like the first ones that say strategic plan in place by 2022, that is okay. But look at the second one, strategy for focusing on mandates. What is the strategy? It's not stated. And if it is stated by strategy, maybe bullet points, each of those strategies are clearly stated. For the first bullet point, you will tell us the year. You will try to do that with a view to by the end of 2025 or by 2025 or even 2023, you would have fully refocused your activities in line with your mandate. And it scans like that. And then when it comes to performance indicators, particularly the first one, the ordering, sequencing matters, because validation, performance indicators, validation by stakeholders. It is only after this validation, cleanup and everything that the management can adopt. But adoption of plan by management is right at the top there. So, and this plan is not yet ready for their consumption, talk less of their adoption. So that's what I'm talking about, being very clear and concise in it. And then I queried, just to give you another example, if you go to page 16, operational plan 2.3, it said decent participation rates. That's another very vague output. What do you mean by decent? If you have 40 participants a year, is that decent? So it has to be clearly stated in concrete terms. So some of the statements of the output, the inputs, the targets, performance indicators are not stated in concrete terms, sufficiently in concrete terms. And then generally from what I've been listening to, I feel that just to guide you, that you may need additional columns. For example, if you don't want to state, because if you are delineating your targets in bullet forms, you can put in parentheses after the first bullet, the timeline. But if it is like this, then you need timeline as a column to tell us that this particular one, if it is clearly stated, it will take place between 2022 and 2023, or 2021 and to 2022, or 2021 to 2024, and so on. That's what we mean by timelines. So I think you might need to talk about the scope sometimes, but if you actually sufficiently state your output, your activities, inputs, and targets in very objective and measurable terms, you may not go into defining the scope here, but you should have at the back of your mind that this is not going to be the implementation document. This is a document that is going to guide you in actualizing all what you want to do between 2021 and 2026. And maybe lastly, to answer the question that the DG floated, whether it should be 2021 to 2026, I think the plan is not yet ready. So it has to start from 2022. Every other activity that took place are behind the scenes, okay, and preparation. And I'm even sure that even your curriculum, which is, I suppose this is the output of that curriculum development activities, reading 2022. So though we started preparing for it in 2021, so the date on the plan should be 2022. So just to answer the DG's question, I will stop now and let others make their contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ajagu. Just not to miss the flow on education, so I would appeal to you to be very quick.
I still want to stand on the existing protocol. I'm from Federal Ministry of Education. And this same document actually got to our ministry 3 days ago. But because of the importance of what is in it, we are here because we take every one of us as human beings before us. First and foremost, having perused through this document, we confirm the document as real. It is a well-planned document at a right time, it comes. But the observation from the document is so real that if we can actually do some justice, because what is in the document is more like what we did in our ministry. We did the MTSS, medium-term strategic planning. MTSS, medium-term strategic study. This gives you a room where you have what is called rollover.
And not until we believe on running over of projects, it will be difficult, because the government of every one cover they put down, they want to have a good use of what you did make use of it for. But a situation where a government approved a certain percent of money for you, that the project, you have not completed it, you begin to void another project and you begin to roll over. Government is not interested. Government is interested on how that same project you have in front of you is developed. They are interested in what you use that money to do. And that is why we have rollover. Should you have a project which was not completed in that year, there is nothing wrong in rolling it over to the preceding year. In that process, you get it right. But you have the building of example, staff quarters, and you have not finished that, you want to buy computer. No. That is not it. That's by the roadside. The observation is just simple. The proposal of this very program we are here for, tools adopted at level of consultation in producing the draft strategic plan, is quite appropriate. The content of the draw documents in relation to the Institute's vision, mission, knowledge, as highlighted in the draft, are also harmonized and agreed. But in the SWOT, the term in the Institute's strengths are adequate and appropriate, but the weakness, poor funding, should read inadequate funding. In government office, there is nothing called poor funding. We call it inadequate funding. And should come on, that poor funding should come as a threat, since it is outside the institution control. Then the outmoded Enabling Act should also come under threat, as it falls under external authority. And who is the external authority? I'm talking about the National Assembly. You know, when it comes to government, whatever the fund you are requesting from government goes straight to the National Buffer for our defense and what have you. So it's not under the purview of the institute here. Then the opportunities at the institute disposal and appropriate, and even the overspending of staff funding comes as weakness, since it is within the institution authority to source for means of increasing the internally generated revenue. And you see, sometimes if we can easily look inward, it's not everything we want to go out to say, we want to go to end this. No. You can look inward, like most of the institutions we have had opportunity of going, maybe as in monitoring, to know how government funds are being used. Because definitely, if you give out funds and you don't go do a follow-up, you will not get a good result. Because everybody we have in this country, they always want to look after their pockets, and they don't want to do needful to make sure the reason why money is released is actually ascertained. Now, we went to some institutes. What we get to note was that that institution had to do and find means of getting their own internally generated fund. There is nothing wrong. The institution is so big, you can create a big pond, and you train your fish, it can grow, and before you know what is happening, you are selling it out. It brings money into the coffer of the institution. You're good. You can equally, the NGOs you have here, they are good, they are wholesome. But I tell you, like, I think it was one of the comrade that did make mention of it. There is a way you bring out your proposal. If your proposal suits the needs, but especially like UNICEF, they are always out to give assistance to most institutions who are truly in need of. The UNICEF don't just because you write a proposal, they want to attest to it, but rather they want a situation where that very particular request meets it up. Not because you want to build a school, just say you want to build a school. If you build a school, who are those to occupy that seat? Who are the teachers? Who are actually there to do the directive analysis? So you must put things you want in a projection so that they will follow it with keen interest. And at the end, I'm sure the goal will be achieved. So like the department itself, the MINILS, I will appreciate if sometime you liaise with Federal Ministry of Education, because in this same package, we have done it 2020, where we talk about 2021, 2025 MTSS that deal with strategic planning. so that you can gain more in these strategic ideas. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So this is the very last before we conclude and this segment, and then we'll go for lunch. Okay. So I want to welcome Barrister Marcel Ode.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to review the plan and juxtapose it with the position of the law, whether it is within the framework of the Enabling Act establishing this institute. Well, a lot of thought has been articulated very well, and the plan is also written out very well. But the pressing question is this: no matter how articulated your thought is, and it falls outside the requirement of the law establishing the institute, it will not work. Because from the beginning, some speaker did make mention of grant and even aid. But it's unfortunate, and I will shock you, that the enabling law establishing an institute did not allow you to take aid from anywhere. And secondly, even the grant, the law establishing your institute only allow you to take grant from the federal government and generate funds or resources from internal, maybe from the school fees and other things you do internally. So it is very important to note this before you put the plan into a working document. Like a first speaker during the first section did mention about change theory. And I think, and somebody also mentioned about going back to the drawing board. I think what is important at this point is for we to go back to the drawing board, which is the enabling law. First of all, make necessary amendment to suit the requirement of your plan before making the plan a working document. Because by the time you begin to act outside the plan, it will be tagged, you lack the locus, and your act will be tagged ultra vires, meaning you are acting outside your power. And one thing you don't really get to know by what the plan is saying is this: all the wonderful things said here is possible, but the structure of the law regulating your institute is very archaic and obsolete. So this law, take it or leave it, for you to make any progress, it must be amended or repealed. Because the power given to the National Council, that is the governing council rather, is too enormous. And those are the people that live very far from the institute. They came in maybe twice a week based on what your law provides. And the power given to the director that wake up here, sleep here, is very minute and limited. So his hands are tight. Unfortunately, if you have a governing council that's not ready to cooperate with the director, none of this will work. So I want to solicit on behalf of the law that you first of all, sit down, put your house in order, amend the law or repeat the law before making any other further plan. Thank God for the Minister of State. The learner sick, he can help facilitate. Though the last time I checked, there was a bill in the National Assembly going through a process, but we don't really know the content. What is the contribution? Imagine, I think the DG did mention this morning that when the minister came in, he saw a property standing for like 30 years, and he asked for the demolition of the property. And this is a law, the foundation of your institute, standing for like 40 years, and nothing is done. It will not work. This law, from a careful perusal of it, is an enemy to your institute. When you study it very well, on a very serious note, the law is an enemy to the institute because the power given to the council is too much. Is too much. And with this kind of power, it will be very difficult to harness all your thoughts, the wonderful thoughts you've made here. It will be impossible. So please, the committee in charge of this developing plant should still take a step forward to see to read that this particular law is amended or repealed. If not so, you will not make any headway. Welcome, sir.
Well, so thank you very much. I think there's enough resources on the high table to speak about the law, and we have a former director general and all of that. So
you will tell us whether the council tied your hands. Thank you so much. And let me specifically appreciate the representative of the Honorable Minister and other stakeholders that have remained throughout this period. I must say that this has been a very robust discussions, and I want us to end this session before my sister will take over the second session by just looking through some of the major contributions that we've been able to gather and see how. Okay. I just want to go through what I have here. I'm sure if there is no capture, sir, you will have to put an input. So looking at everything that has been said, beginning from NSC, the unions and others, number one is the need for constant mapping of your stakeholders' needs. What do they require from time to time? And one thing is that plan changes. You can say 2020 something, certain things might make you to amend some aspect of this plan. So, and you can only do that by mapping constantly. Please. Yes, emergency strategy. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So you can only discover those circumstances if you keep in touch with the needs of your stakeholders. Number two is that there are new forms of works and the future of work, climate change, environmental issues, new technology, new way of doing things. None of us anticipated the COVID. It has come. Things are done a new way. We must be able to key into it. Then every person talks about funding. And we say stakeholder involvement. Your budget is just from one stakeholder, which is government. We must be able to diversify. And if you must diversify, you must serve the interest of your stakeholders. So we must be able to network, build network all over. The union alone can finance the institute. They can finance the institute if they decide to attend, and you have enough facilities here. I don't see any reason why the trade union should not bring their delegate conference here. This is central. You have facilities here. It's cheaper. And we want to thank the NSC for leading the way by coming for the rain school. But not only that, we want to identify where the NSC president will stay in our chalet here and demonstrate commitment. It will give room. So this will improve on funding. And some of this other funding should be, the DG should be here. We should also let him know that some of this funding that come from other stakeholders, you channel it into specific areas so that what is coming from budget, you use it for other things. Even if it is diesel you want to be using what you have in the hostel for, let it be there and you will not touch that from your budget. So we must begin to reach out and fund them. Then TUC as people, a lot of people measured about the operators. No matter how good the plan is, it is people that will operate it. And if these people are not motivated, we will get to nowhere. So please, staff motivation, staff working condition. As you have more funding, let there be opportunity. As you build more network, make this network available to them so that they can go. Then we talk of legislative intervention is necessary. And this is where my very good brother, I'm not a learned, so I will not say learned brother, but he looks so much like my in-law, Ezekiel. I almost mistakenly. So legislative intervention in different way. One is local, one is lobbying. The local one is the enabling law. And I know a lot of work has been done. And I will tie that one to what my brother said, the power of council. I know in the first DG, it came out even in the report of the panel tribunal that was said, Olubright panel, Colonel Olubright. There was a lot of acrimony between the first governing council and the first director of the institute, Leshokumbi, to the extent it led to series of panels and series of resolutions. And a recommendation was made in that panel that the power of council should only be limited to policy and not management. We're happy that subsequent year we didn't have such cantankerous intervention. So we had the council. But again, I agree with you. And I think this will be part of the area that was touched in that law. When you talk of AIDS, well, I will a bit digress, because this area, you cannot take grant, was put there by the military people to weaken the trade union movement. Because as a byproduct of the military, trade union was the only platform of agitation and opposition to the military. So they don't want you to be strong. And so they put that there. But I want to say that under a democratic dispensation, and by our association and some of the things we have signed with the ILO, the fundamental law, and we are signatory to, we cannot be prevented from associating with international organizations that do similar things with us. And that is why we have been able to work with Frederick Ebert Foundation, with ILO, with the American government, because all these things are global movement that does the same. And our fundamental rights, our association and all those things are covered. So, but this is an area that the law too will also be amended. So I want to thank you. Then we talk of changing government policy. Whatever we are doing today, government policy may rubbish it. If they take a loan and there's a condition like our brother has mentioned, it can affect the workers. It can affect all our plans. So government policy is very necessary. Then feedback and the uses. How do we make use of the feedback? Edwin, we have been doing training, need analysis, going to workers and all that, even when they come for training. You do not just take this, but how do we make use of it? These are things that will help you to amend their feelings and feedback on your plans. Then we talk of core values should be concise. If it is 3 or 4, my sister and everybody talk about it. Professionalism, define what you want from professionalism and let it be standard. Then we talk of digital marketing and learning. That we cannot at this stage ignore the changes in the world. If you look at the ILO training, the training center training program for this year, you can hardly see more than 4 or 5 that are face-to-face. All others are online. So, MINILS, it is time for us to key into that. It's an area you can attain your 10,000 easily. Then people have appraised feasibility and popularity. One of our brothers says it's not just feasibility, but popularity. So, policy interventions, policy statement, but based on facts. I was saying something, and I want to say it to MINILS, all the training and development officer. How many of us has even seen the 2009 ASU agreement? How many? Because these are basic policy issues that we can intervene on. So I expect that if there are problems in the country now, the first thing to do is that please get us those agreements. Stay in training department, analyze it. When your DG is talking, he talk from the point of policy. This is an agreement. Which one have been, which one has not been attended? These are issues that information is power. And when you give out information, today in America, the world waits for the Ministry of Labor to give the employment situation statistics in America. That will determine how popular the government is. When they say so many people is out of job, the government is put under pressure. So, MINILS, you can be generating basic information. Basic information. I did a small research for my institute and we wrote a paper on it. How many trade union disputes were apprehended by the Ministry of Labor? How many were resolved through conciliation? How many were sent to arbitration? How many is pending? What is the implication of those pending on the tension in the economy? These are simple things. Very simple. And it will help us in the country. So please, feasibility, infrastructural reviewer. The essence of this infrastructure is to make people to use them. You can use them to generate money and they are there for you. The idea of having a regional center is the fact that you can facilitate your auditorium there has interpreter cubicle model along what we have in ILO. You can have Arabic interpreter, you can have French. So you already have some of these facilities, so you can run them. And you go ahead. Then we talk of operational integrity. I think one of the scholars here, there's need for operational integrity. Please, let's look at it. Dynamism. Things are changing. So you must be able to reappraise your plan from time to time. And I will link that to what our erudite mother said here, that you have to translate them into workable plans, work plans, yearly, quarterly. These are things that we must be able to do. And somebody talking about alliance with the social movement. There was a time Professor Tayo Fasonye made a presentation. If you look at the human rights groups, they do more in fighting for labor. They are encroaching into labor issues. They are the ones that take people to work for unfair labor practices. They do this. So we must involve them. When we are doing anything, they are major stakeholders now. So building social movement alliance. Then people with special needs, we must take care of them when they come for training. Gender-friendly and subsidized costs. It was highlighted, please. And the task is that both parties should look at it. Then modules must be simplified. It must not be for academic things. It is to impact knowledge. These are workers on the job training. And that is why somebody also mentioned that we must be interested in skill gaps. Negotiating skills is very important. Negotiating skill. I remember one of the things that was proposed by the Honorable Minister Keyamo is a situation where newly elected officials of trade union are made to come to MINILS for what? An orientation. So that you even know what is collective agreement, what is collective bargaining, what are those terms. So people are popular and they become president of union, but they don't know the basic negotiation skill. Maybe you can start by sending 1 or 2 officers to give them lectures, and then later you start charging them. I think it is very important. Then the informal sector, that you should have a specific target program for them. Not just assume that all the program will cover them. Target areas like occupational health and safety in what they do. My brother is very passionate about that. Basic management skill and bookkeeping, finance, it can help them. Social protection, what can government do for them? In terms of health insurance, in terms of let them know. Cooperative society, where can they source for loan? Who can guarantee them? These are people, and these are areas that we can use to move people out of poverty. Then somebody talk of prioritization and measurable targets. We must have to prioritize all the objectives. Which one we put first? If you don't have resources, which one we discard, which one we will face? You can roll up those you have not been able to do in your next plan, but we must prioritize and have measurable targets. Then time frame, financial implication of the plan, due diligence. One of the things that the legislator does sometimes is that they don't do due diligence. Somebody say he wants to create an institution. You don't know where it's going to be funded. They just pass. And when it comes to implementation, it becomes a problem. So due diligence is very important. What is going to be the cost of this plan? How many trainers we have to go and meet the stakeholders? Because you cannot stay in a lorry where the stakeholders are in Abuja and Lagos, and you don't talk to them and you think they will know. You must be physically present in most cases, in addition to your online presence. So, then reflect ILO and global views. There are certain strategic objectives of the ILO. They must be our guiding principle. If you want to be in tandem with the global world, please focus on those things. Social protection for all, fundamental rights at work, decent work for all, and look at the relevant ILO conventions that guide these things, because people can take you up. And I'm also happy to say I work with the Ministry of Labor. We have been able to develop a compendium of ILO recommendations, conventions, and protocols that the Nigerian has subscribed for. And any moment that publication will come out. So it's a concise one that you can, at a glance, look at the conventions and what is applicable. So please, let's link on to it. Then we must create platform for stakeholders engagement. The DG talk about the Founders Day. It's not just going to be a ceremony, but bring the stakeholders so that they can have platform for engagement on topical labor issues. Revive our labor summit. Revive everything we're doing. Because these are areas that people come and they are happy to interact and go back with something. Then diversification of our sources of funding, effective follow-up, and training and retraining at all times. I've talked about that. I think these are areas that stakeholders have expressed concern. And if you can factor these things in all these programs that we are doing, we'll make some further progress. Thank you so much for your understanding. Sir.
Thank you very much. I actually wanted to make an observation before you speak, but it's okay. I want to say I actually feel bad that Dr. Habiba, right? I actually feel bad that Dr. Habiba gave us our inception report at the end of the program. Because if we had this earlier, we wouldn't be where we are now. Simply put, I spoke earlier about a guide, and that's the guide she has just given us. It's for you to take everything she has told you, take it verbatim, and structure the report along that line. Why we say some of these things? For some of us who are already senior citizens, we don't have much of this work to do, but the younger ones will need to know that when you want to do a plan of this nature, please, by all means, you must develop an exception report. And that will be your guide. And once you have it, every other thing will fall in place naturally. For instance, if you had it the way she presented it, we won't have problem. We'll just be fitting them in, and we'll just come here, look at the report, and validate and run away. So please take note of that. That's number one. One of our brothers talked about some of the policies, some of the issues that have been raised here are not issues for MINILS, and that's the truth. Some of them are issues for the ministry, and I'm sure the ministry is working on a good number of them. For instance, we'll talk about the labor laws. Yes, to a very large extent, you are correct. But what we need to do is for you, because I know MINILS presented a copy and you have a copy. All you need to do is to avail him that copy to look at it and see the amendments you have made, if they are adequate, because they are not yet sent to National Assembly. And this is the time to make the adequate amendments. If they are not adequate, he will tell you what to do and which way to go. And at the end of the day, we'll achieve the desired result. For instance, somebody spoke about occupational safety. At the ministry level, I had the privilege of being in the committee too, where we're working on standardizing some of these practices, because we discovered that everybody is into it and you have pockets of regulations here and there. And because of that, certification is non-existent. So what we want to do, we want to arrive at a point, we're working with private sector actually, to at least equip and get the necessary platform in place and all whatnot. What do we want to do? We want to get to a point where even the informal sector, somebody representing the informal sector here, even the informal sector will need to be trained and certified. Where they will go for the training and certification, I use Sabi, but for now, we need to train and certify. Whether they are coming here or going to another place, it's a different ballgame. If we achieve that, those standards, definitely there'll be more work for MINILS to do. And that is the direction the ministry is going to. So I just felt there was a need for me to make this observation, let it be known that the ministry actually is working, but they are coming from somewhere, just as MINILS is coming from somewhere. And with the help of God, we'll get to where we want to get to and get the desired result. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Do we close this, sir? So we want to close this round, but after this, there's lunch. But this lunch, for those who are eating, for those who are not, they could pack it for you. So, but after this round, after lunch, and I think lunch should just be 30 minutes because we lost a lot of time. Okay, so if you go for lunch now, we expect you to be back here by 3:30. And then lunch is in our canteen, just to give you a small opportunity. We talked about visibility, just to give you a small opportunity to see the institute. So it's not very far off. You just walk there and go to the canteen and for 30 minutes, and then we'll come back and then we'll do the last round and close up. Can I, for those who are not eating immediately, can you just wait for me in this hall so that we have a little bit of discussion? It's a discussion, I said. Yes. So you
are from
I